Poor Carpenter saved 2 giant dragon sisters. Next day, his Galactic Diplomat arrived shockingly. The workshop smelled of sawdust and honest labor when the sky tore open. Oliver had been planing a cabinet door, the rhythmic scrape of steel against wood his only companion in the quiet countryside, when the crash shattered his afternoon. The impact shook his small workshop, sending tools clattering from their hooks. He dropped his plane and ran outside, heart hammering. What he found defied every law of nature he'd ever known. 2 massive creatures lay tangled in the wreckage of his vegetable garden, their scales glinting like polished obsidian under the afternoon sun. Dragons. Actual dragons, each easily 30 feet long with wings that spanned twice that. One was bleeding profusely from a gash along her flank, the other's wing bent at an unnatural angle. Oliver stood frozen, his carpenter's hands trembling. Then the injured one turned her enormous head toward him, and her eyes, intelligent, desperate, utterly terrified, met his. That look decided everything. Right, Oliver muttered, running back into his workshop. Dragons. Bleeding dragons in my garden. This is fine. This is absolutely fine. He grabbed every clean cloth he owned, his leather work apron, rope, and the bottle of antiseptic he kept for workshop accidents. His hands moved with practiced efficiency, even as his mind screamed that this was impossible. The dragons watched him approach, too weak to flee. The bleeding one tried to growl, but it came out as a pitiful whimper. Easy now, Oliver said softly, the same tone he used with frightened horses. I'm going to help, just don't eat me, yeah? He pressed cloths against the worst of the wounds. His entire body weighed barely enough to create pressure against her massive frame. The blood was hot, almost burning, and shimmered with an otherworldly iridescence. The dragon shuddered but didn't pull away. Hours blurred together. Oliver worked with the same methodical care he brought to his carpentry. Patient, steady, refusing to rush. He splinted the other dragon's wing using oak planks and rope, whispering constant reassurance. He cleaned wounds with trembling hands, applied antiseptic that made both dragons hiss, and fashioned bandages from his entire collection of bedsheets. By sunset, both dragons were breathing easier. The bleeding had stopped. They watched him with those impossibly intelligent eyes as he collapsed against his workshop wall, exhausted and covered in shimmering blood. You're welcome, he wheezed. Now please don't burn down my house. The larger dragon, the one with the wing injury, made a sound that might have been a laugh. Oliver fell asleep right there in the dirt, too tired to move. He woke to the sound of engines, not car engines, something deeper, more powerful that made his bones vibrate. A ship hung in the sky above his workshop, sleek, massive, and utterly alien. It descended with impossible grace, landing in the field beside his ruined garden. The dragons, still lying where he'd left them, lifted their heads with what looked like alarm. A ramp extended from the ship's belly, and a woman descended. She was tall, aristocratic, dressed in a uniform that seemed woven from starlight itself. Her hair was pulled back in a severe bun, and her eyes swept the scene with the kind of authority that moved governments. Behind her, a squad of armored figures took defensive positions. She stopped when she saw the dragons, her composure cracking for just a moment. Then her gaze found Oliver, still sitting in the dirt, covered in dried dragon blood and sawdust. You, she said, her voice carrying an accent he'd never heard before, saved them. Oliver scrambled to his feet. Yes? They were hurt. I couldn't just... Do you have any idea? The woman interrupted, walking toward him with measured steps. Who they are? Oliver looked at the dragons, then back at her. Dragons? They are the crown princesses of the Draconic Imperium. The woman stopped 3 feet away, studying him with an intensity that made him want to check if he had something on his face. The 2 most important individuals in a star empire spanning 300 systems. They were being transported under maximum security when their ship was attacked. They crashed here on this backwater planet, Earth, Oliver said quietly. It's called Earth. They crashed, the woman continued, and by all accounts should have died from their injuries within hours. But instead, a primitive... She caught herself. A human with no medical training, no knowledge of draconic physiology, and nothing but cloth and wood saved their lives. Oliver shrugged helplessly. They were hurt, the woman stared at him. They were hurt, she repeated as if the words didn't quite compute. Yes? Ambassador Anna Chen. the woman said, extending her hand. Galactic Diplomatic Corps. I was sent to recover the princesses' bodies and prepare for interstellar war. Instead, I find them alive, stabilized by— She gestured at his workshop. A carpenter. Oliver shook her hand, acutely aware of how dirty his own was. Oliver, just Oliver. And I'm sorry about the war thing, but I really couldn't just let them die in my garden. Anna laughed, a short, shocked sound. Couldn't let them die, she murmured. Do you understand what you've done? The Draconic Imperium was preparing to glass this entire planet in retaliation. They thought we'd assassinated their heirs. Oliver felt the blood drain from his face. Oh, but now, Anna continued, her expression shifting into something calculating. Now we have a carpenter who saved 2 dragon princesses with nothing but basic first aid and stubborn human compassion. Do you know what that's worth diplomatically? I really don't. Everything, Oliver. It's worth everything. Anna turned to her squad. Get the medical team out here now. Full honors protocol. She looked back at Oliver. You're coming with me. You're about to become the most important human in the galaxy. But I have orders to finish. Oliver protested weakly. The larger dragon made that laughing sound again and shifted her massive head to rest near Oliver's feet. The gesture was unmistakable. Protective, possessive, grateful. Anna smiled. I don't think you understand. You didn't just save 2 individuals. You saved 2 sisters, 2 heirs, 2 people. And dragons remember debts, Oliver. They remember kindness, she paused. And apparently so do humans. Even when it's inconvenient. Even when it's dangerous. Even when the wounded are terrifying alien royalty. Oliver looked down at the dragon princess beside him. At her wings still splinted with his oak planks. At the bandages he'd fashioned from his bedsheets. She met his eyes and made a soft rumbling sound that somehow conveyed more gratitude than words ever could. I really just wanted to finish that cabinet, Oliver said. Anna laughed again. You're going to tell that story at diplomatic functions for the rest of your life. The day I prevented a galactic war because I couldn't ignore hurt dragons in my garden. Sounds exhausting. Welcome to humanity, Oliver. We're exhausting. We're also the reason, Anna said, gesturing to the dragons, that the galaxy is about to learn why you never, ever underestimate a species that treats every living thing like it matters. Even giant, terrifying dragon princesses. The ship's medical team swarmed out and Oliver found himself swept up in organized chaos. But through it all, the 2 dragon princesses kept their eyes on him. The carpenter who'd saved them with nothing but kindness and stubborn human determination. The cabinet would have to wait.